All right, hey folks, so I shopped Sportsman's Guide and I got a bunch of the old military surplusy stuff that I really like. This bag's special though, it came with a helper. All right, first off, oh, there we go. You can't have enough of these. These are air mattresses. Here, oh, a cook set, wonderful. Camelback, glorious. Thank you, Sportsman's Guide. Water filtration, can't live home without it. Oh, my darling whoopee. And bayonet, even though I got this off in Afghani, it looked good in the bag. What's up, man? Hey, thanks so much for the help. Give me a high five. One more. Yes. Shop Sportsman's Guide and use code WARPOET. Start saving money now. What do you think of that?
Good.
Yeah? Good job, man. All right, hey, welcome back, guys. Switching it up, a little bit of a change of scenery. Yes, the Warrior Poet's office right here. Welcome to it. It's been a while since we had a just kind of an off-the-cuff chat, and I wanted to talk about training stuff, mindset stuff. If you guys are following other trainers that I'd consider peers out there, you notice we're always talking about mindset, mindset, mindset. And some will even go and venture as far to say tactics, tactics, tactics. And then kind of we drift down from there, and then we talk skills, 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 and the lowest of all these things is gear. Now, gear's the thing that everyone like just flies on a popsicle stick, flies on honey. Whatever flies are attracted to, you know, flies go after that. Everybody's like gear, 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 and you think gear's going to make the difference. And so you get a gun, and then you just kind of suck with a gun, and so you're like, hey, what forum tells me to do what upgrade? And then you never really get that much better, but it's a little bit better. And man, it's like, hey, it is the Indian and not the arrow. And so we kind of try to push up, but there's this secret amongst people who are fighters, people who have walked through the fire. And what we preach over and over is, hey, it's mindset, mindset, mindset. And then it's tactics, tactics, tactics. And yeah, skill's really important. Oh, and yeah, of course you got to have the right gear. And so it's kind of that stuff. And so if you're just kind of like gear junkie, or you're even kind of moving up the ladder here and you're a bit in the range mentality of, man, like shooting fast and accurate is everything to you. That is the litmus test to you, is shoot fast and accurate. I'm like, dude, that is an awesome goal. I'm always working on shooting fast and accurate, but you know, no matter how great you get on the flat range, as a fighter, you're always kind of getting to a point and you will never get much farther. Not if it's just, hey, flat range, fast and accurate. That is all you're really doing. And the reason why is because we really have to be developing the mindset stuff. So it's kind of like I picture like an F-250 pickup truck with whatever, but it's got this like little Ford Fiat motor in it. And it's like, man, it looks great, but it's not going anywhere. Now, what's under the hood for us, kind of to take the metaphor down and make this actually make some sense, is, man, is that mindset. It's being able to conquer fear kind of stuff. So I liken in the grand scheme of learning to fight and defend yourself well, I look at flat range work like hitting a bag. You want to hit a bag hard and fast, and you want to practice that regularly, but nobody becomes a great fighter just by hitting a bag. Eventually, you got to fight somebody. War is a social affair, and so our training must be also. So if you can just run and gun on a flat range, it's all well and good. You can look amazing, and it's a good thing to do. So don't pendulum over and be like, well, screw the flat range. Like, no, you need the flat range. That's good. Let's all be faster and more accurate. That's a really good thing, and I'm chasing that rabbit just like you should. What I'm saying is, man, we need a lot more than that. Just by hitting a heavy bag, nobody becomes a great fighter. It's just one little thing that works on speed, it works on kind of coordination, throwing hips, closing hands at the right distances, all that kind of stuff. So we want to be able to hit a bag, but that's just kind of our flat range work. Ultimately, all the timing and the positioning and knowing what to do, when to do it, and where to do it, that's all tactics. And then being able to actually, and it's mindset as well, but to actually have the courage to be able to pull it off is shockingly difficult, and you're not going to become just a range commando, just savant on the flat range, and then that somehow magically equals better fighter. It doesn't translate into great fighter. It never will. because the lacking component is something called courage. That's just one piece of the pie is courage, and it's not going to build that, not that experienced courage. So, as a young Ranger Battalion private in Ranger Battalion, I remember everything was very scary. Your fire team leader, the E4 mafia around you, and then your squad leaders, and everyone was scary. And so you shoot on the flat range, and you want to do a good job, and so that's a little bit scary. And then it gets scarier where you're starting to like shoot, fight in the shoot house, and maybe that's just force on target. And that's scarier, especially when you go live fire in a shoot house, closed spaces, lots of booms, muzzles all over the place, close to you. That can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And then you start like doing force-on-force stuff with training rounds. Then you're hunting each other. And then you do it in the dark, and you're all like fogged up, and you're in trouble, and you don't know why. So everything just gets scarier and scarier. And, to kind of fast forward, I got through all that stuff. And then I started gaining some rank. And so by the time, this time, let's fast forward. Now I'm a fire team leader, and I'm in charge of a bunch of, or a couple Spec 4s and then some privates as well. And who knows what's attached. But anyway, as a fire team leader, I'd always like to position myself as the number 2 man in a fire team stack. And even as a squad leader, if I was going in, I'm like, the only guy I trust to do number 2, being number 2 in a stack is me. And the difficulty is, especially when you had somebody with less seniority, less experience fighting, they could freeze in the funnel. And it doesn't matter how amazing they were on the flat range. Their skills could be off the chart. But the question is can they still do the thing when they're absolutely terrified? Fear just shuts down your ability to think clearly, and you're just very, very erratic. I've seen this a million times taking students, civilians, LE and MIL through the shoot house, and they just can't do the thing they know that they should have done. You guys watching, if you haven't kind of walked through some of this stuff and done it personally, you have a picture in your mind of what you would look like in a fight or what you would look like under fear and stress, and it'll look something like your best range run plus some little Jason Bourne kind of thing. If you're watching from your mom's basement and thinking, in a fight I would do this, and you've never actually tested that, at least in force on force, you will not do that. And I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just saying, hey man, this is really true. Anyway, back to kind of back in the day. Well, I'd always like to be the number 2 man in the stack. And that's because if somebody stalled out and freaked out going into a room, could happen to anyone at any time kind of thing, I needed to be able to grab control of them, throw them through the threshold toward basically their point of domination so I could cut in and move to my point of domination. Suffice it to say, if I was number 1 man and somebody else got a little skittish behind me, I would enter the room alone. And after you enter a room alone, and this isn't just training anymore, this is real life combat missions where I've cleared hundreds and hundreds, but probably thousands of real world rooms and taken down buildings in combat, and to basically collapse your sector of fire and then realize you're the only barrel in the room is just really terrifying. And it gets really old risking life over and over by clearing rooms as a 1 man. And in Ranger Battalion, it's a more elite unit, so that's not happening very often, but it's happening everywhere. Even in the most kind of elite units, you can't tell me where you didn't turn around sometimes and you cleared that alone, which meant your back was exposed and your flank was exposed. That's really, really ugly. But as a more senior guy, if I have somebody else who's in front of me who I know for a fact that at least will get our deep corner simultaneously if I'm number 2 man, but I position myself as a more experienced guy to be able to know for a fact that at least 2 of us were in the room. So I'd always want to be number 2, throw him in so they couldn't kind of stall out or lag behind. The point of it is even when somebody's really skilled, I don't know whether they will be courageous or not. That's the real big difference, So you can take just some kind of tier 1 unit guy, just amazing. And let's say you got somebody else who's just an incredible, shooter. And maybe the incredible shooter, no, not a fighter, just an amazing shooter, outperforms this operator in every single game. And the operator's going to be pissed because he's competitive and stuff. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to, hey, who can do that thing when the world's on fire around you and you might be, about to die? Well, the operator, absolutely. He will, whatever he did before, he'll probably, maybe, kind of, sort of be able to actually perform that consistently, no matter what and be able to think moment to moment and creatively think. So, that's basically the tactics. Whereas the shooter, it's untested, ground. That the shooter may rise to the occasion and may do absolutely awesome, but if they haven't had that fear, force on force training, competition stress versus actual, oh my God, I'm going to die, fear is definitely different. But that isn't to say, hey, that stress isn't at least helpful in yielding over the other, but it's not the same. So anyway, what I'm encouraging you guys to do is not stop at just the range stuff. That's good, but remember, it's just hitting a heavy bag at the end of the day, and that's good, that's helpful, but it's not the fight. You got to fight people, which means force on force training a good bit, and then that can help. A lot of martial arts stuff, hands-on kind of stuff. You got to get hit, you got to get bloody kind of stuff to be a good fighter and walk through the fight and continue to manage that fear and to be able to do the thing when you're sure you're going to die. Now, really, this is where I have a lot of respect for those dudes who have, far more years in service than I do. And some of these old crusty Delta operators, of like some of the young bucks may outshoot them faster and more accurate. And I'm like, still, the Delta dudes, that's my homeboy right there. That dude's going to be able to fight and he's going to be able to fight smart, creatively, consistently, right? That right there, the tried and true person who's speaking from experience as a salty, crusty fighter, you should have a very high opinion of what they say. But at the same time, let's not be snooty and not appreciate at the same time kind of the more young up-and-comers who are shooting faster and more accurate than ever before. I'm kind of in between the camps, I guess. But anyway, man, I've borrowed a lot from the competitive shooting community. I'm deeply indebted to kind of both communities, though I was, special operations background before. And since then, I've been really trying to learn as much as I can from the competitive shooting world of fast and accurate. And I've made some really good strides. But I have a lot to learn from both camps. And I want you to as well, and appreciate kind of the difference, right? Not elevating of like, oh, this one's the best and this one sucks. I'm like, no. Both are awesome. Both have something to teach, and you need both. You can't, if you measure them both on a shot timer, for instance, it may lead you to false conclusions. And if you just weight it alone on just experience, I'm like, well, that's combat experience, but this is kind of like everyday concealed carry, and this is competition stuff, and this is law enforcement. And I'm like, man, your context matters a whole lot. And so let's shut up. Let's kind of be humble. Let's learn from everybody. I'm on a journey as a student. When I teach classes all around the country of firearms and tactics kind of stuff. But I'll explain to folks. I'm like, guys, I'm on a journey, I haven't arrived. And so I'll miss, some runs, I kind of knock it out of the park, and other runs, I can think of them right now of like, man, I just sucked. Sorry guys, how about a mulligan? And so, anyway, we're all on journeys, and we want to be able to keep an open mind, learn from a whole bunch of different stuff. And so hopefully this will, help you guys as well as you're trying to put together what are the pieces of training you need to really go for? If you're really hot, to trot on the range, guys, getting some force on force stuff or getting some room clearing stuff, some one-man clearing. If you ever get in a gunfight as a civilian, law enforcement, or military, it's probably going to be in and around a structure. And if you're solo, that means solo room clearing. Team clearing tactics are going to jack you up as a one-man element because it is not the same. Anyway, some of that stuff's really important. You need to constantly be looking for ways that you can kind of amp the stress up and the fear up, especially once all the skills are on autopilot. So anyway, and if that's the context of, hey, I'm trying to be a better fighter and a better protector. So that's my context right there. So anyway, these were just kind of my raw musings. And so hopefully you enjoyed them. But anyway, guys, train hard, train smart, and I'll see you next time.